Hello and welcome to this channel yet again. This video is in the continuation of my previous videos जहाँ पे मैंने आप सभी के साथ IGNOU MEG 1 British Poetry के assignment questions discuss करे थे. That is, I have elaborated on question number 1 and also question number 2. I hope that आप सभी ने वो videos देखी होंगी and you found those videos helpful and informative. तो इस वीडियो में I will be talking about question number 3 of MEG 1 British Poetry assignment question submission. In question number 3, we have to attempt a comparison between the Epithalamion and Prothalamion as wedding songs. So like हमारे प्रीवियस क्वेश्चन में हमें एक लेंदी आंसर टाइप क्वेश्चन लिखना था जहाँ पे हमें फीचर्स ऑफ रोमांटिसिज्म के बारे में बताना था. उसी तरह अब क्वेश्चन नंबर 3 में हमें एक कंपैरिजन करना है टू पोएट्रीज के बीच में, दैट इज एपिथैलेमियन एंड प्रोथैलेमियन. सो ये दोनों पोएट्रीज have been written by Edmund Spenser, the famous 16th century writer and poet. So सबसे पहले, to begin with the answer, we will start with the introduction of the poet. We will write about Edmund Spenser, that how he was born in London and he is one of the most remarkable and a very prominent writer and a poet of the 16th century Renaissance period. He's a very well-known poet and also a very well-celebrated poet who has contributed a lot within English literature or English poetry per se. Uske baad we will write about the specific works or the major works that has been done or worked upon by Edmund Spenser. For example, we can write about Edmund Spenser's Emmerity sonnets, because Emmerity sonnets were one of his remarkable and most significant works. Apart from his poetries, that is Epithalamion and Prothalamion, his other major works also include A Fairy Queen, and you can elaborate on such works. So after writing about the poet and his major works and contribution within English literature, we will come directly to the question wherein we have to do a comparison between these two poetries. But usse pehle we will start with the basic introduction or the basic themes of the both poems, that is Epithalamion and Prothalamion. So Edmund Spenser's Epithalamion was a very significant work of his own, because it is about Spenser's own marriage to his second wife, that is Elizabeth Boyle. So this poem is actually a very famous wedding song, just as it is mentioned in the question also, because the entire theme of the poem is about matrimony. It is about Spenser's own marriage or his commemoration of marriage, where the tone of the poem is very thankful and hopeful. So as we know that this poetry is composed within 24 stanzas, justifying or vividly portraying the 24 hours in a day. So here Spenser actually celebrates his 24 hours in full swing, and it brings an immense pleasure to him that he wants to be near his beloved or his to-be bride. So the poem or the entire theme of the wedding or the matrimony is a blessing for Edmund Spenser. He is very impatient throughout the poetry that he wants his wedding to be over soon so that he can spend almost a quality time with his beloved or his wife. with whom he's getting married, that is Elizabeth Boyle. Nextly, when we talk about Prothalamion, जो कि second poetry है after Epithalamion by Edmund Spenser, इस poetry में भी he has talked about a celebration, kind of a marriage of Elizabeth and Catherine Somerset, the daughters of Earl of Somerset. So this is also a wedding song or a wedding poem, but it is very distinct or different from Epithalamion. And this is what we have to write and specify in the answer, that both of the poetry by Edmund Spenser is a wedding song. It's a nuptial song. But what is it that makes it different? So those comparisons is what we have to justify or specify in our answer. In Prothalamion, the poet is celebrating the beauty of the brides, the perfection of their engagements throughout the poetry. Perhaps what is significant here is that in Epithalamion, it is composed in 24 stanzas, so it's kind of a big poem justifying the 24 hours in a day, that what and how poet's own marriage commemorated during the time, whereas Prothalamion is comparatively shorter in length. It does not talk about Spenser's own wedding with Elizabeth Boyle or his second wife, rather than it is about the matrimony of Elizabeth and Catherine Somerset, the daughters of Earl of Somerset. So this is a kind of a political poetry as such, whereas Epithalamion is a personal or a autobiographical poetry of Edmund Spenser. So in Prothalamion, the poet, that is Edmund Spenser, is actually describing and discussing about the political complications of life at court. He's also mentioning about the nature. When we are reading the first stanzas of the poetry, we come across the nature aspect, and the theme of the nature is very prevalent in the very beginning whenever he's mentioning about river themes, and also he's talking about nymphs, and later on in the poetry we address that how Spenser witnesses the wedding of Elizabeth and Catherine Somerset. But it is a very distinct kind of a wedding song. It is not as personal or very, you can say, private or personal to his own life. So he's actually justifying the political complications as well as how it comprehends with the wedding. So how it is very distinct from Epithalamion is actually what we have to write in the answers. So we may also discuss that how the two poems of Spenser are unique and innovative in their own ways, yet they are very distinct or different from each other. In Epithalamion, there is only a single wedding that is taking place, that is Edmund Spenser's marriage with Elizabeth Boyle, whereas in Prothalamion, there is a double wedding that is taking place. And in order to make your answer more impressive, you can also quote examples from the poems to differentiate that how these poems have the similar theme of wedding, or both of the poems are wedding songs, but yet they're distinct from each other. You can quote few lines from Epithalamion and Prothalamion as well. So we see here that in both of the poems, that is Epithalamion and Prothalamion, there are many similarities. Perhaps the major similarity is that both of them are wedding songs, because we see the commemoration of weddings in both of the poems, yet they have differences in terms of themes like how Prothalamion is about nature, it is about matrimony, it is also about court politics, and the difficulties that Spenser himself had to face as an outsider. And also, we must not forget that Epithalamion is a kind of a lengthy poem which talks about the 24 hours of a day. So, that is why it is written and composed within 24 stanzas, whereas Prothalamion is a shorter poem where there is a description of not his own wedding but the wedding of Elizabeth and Catherine Somerset. Perhaps you can also mention that Epithalamion gained so much success and prominence within 16th century per se. So this was an inspiration for Spenser for composing Prothalamion, because this is a wedding song of the 16th century, and this Epithalamion is such a remarkable piece of work of Spenser that it truly paved way for Prothalamion as well. And last May, now we have to write conclusion of the entire answer. We have to kind of summarize what we have talked and discussed in the answer, जो कि हमने पूरा starting से लेकर end तक लिखा था, from the introduction about the poet, about the poem, about his works, and also few descriptions about the themes and the various aspects of the both poems, that is Epithalamion and Prothalamion. उसी को हम समराइज हम अपने कंक्लूजन में करेंगे. और जो क्वेश्चन में पूछा गया है दैट व्हाट इज़ द कंपैरिजन बिटवीन द टू पोम्स एज वेडिंग सॉन्ग्स, उसको हम एक तरह से डिस्क्रिप्शन में लिखेंगे जो कि हमने ऑलरेडी आंसर में जस्टिफाई एंड स्पेसिफाई कर दिया है. सो दैट विल कंप्लीट आवर होल आंसर, जहाँ पे वी हैव अटेम्प्टेड अ कंपैरिजन. So comparison is both comparison, that means we have stated the similarities also, plus we have also stated the differences between the two poems of Edmund Spenser, that is Epithalamion and Prothalamion, as wedding songs. So here ends our video, जिसमें I have discussed question number 3 of MEG 1 of British poetry with you all. If you like the video and if you really found it helpful, then do press the like button, share, comment, and do not forget to subscribe to this channel. And please stay tuned and connected with this channel, because more such videos are coming up for you all. So hit that bell notification, and I will see you in my next video, wherein I will be discussing more IGNOU assignment submission answers with you all. So stay tuned and stay connected.